Learn the most empowering hiring techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Hire Power Radio Show with your host, Rick Gerard.
All right. Well, we are currently in a strange hiring market. Now, people are looking and companies are interviewing, but the criteria to be hired has gone up, way up. We're seeing companies that are evaluating people for more than just skills, looking at behaviors that display cultural and core value alignment. Now, with the explosion of Gen AI, current resume screening software is being fooled, rendering applicants' resumes virtually useless as a filtering mechanism. This has forced a lot of companies to cherry pick from what they hope to be the best looking resumes, thus eliminating great people who don't have perfect resumes. Now, unfortunately, AI is not making our lives easier in this case, and a lot more false positives are making it through to interviews while great people are being left out. I'm Rick Gerard, and welcome to the Hire Power Radio Show. We help entrepreneurs and executives win the strongest people. We do so by sharing insights from top performing rebel entrepreneurs, game changers, and industry leaders. We usually have a guest, but today our guest is me. Well, we've gotten a lot of requests to cover a bunch of subjects, one being AI. I'm going to speak from my experience of what we've been experiencing with some of our customers and what we're getting feedback on. Now, for those of you who don't quite know me, I'm a recovering headhunter who has successfully built and exited 2 executive search firms, and I am now an AI startup founder. I'm the creator of the HireOS hiring operating system. I am the author of a best-selling book called Healing Career Wounds, and I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who sometimes enjoys running around the office with scissors just to live on the edge a little bit. Now, my personal mission is to help entrepreneurs and business leaders achieve massive success by getting the strongest people hired in the right seat every time. So today we're going to talk about how AI is hacking your recruiting process. I'll be sharing what we are seeing on the candidate and the company side that is driving mutual frustration, and that's been enhanced by things like ChatGPT and AI. Now, again, this show is a problem solution show. So the idea is we want to uncover the actual problem, the root of the issues that we're seeing right now. And then the second part of the show is to actually discuss what we found are possible solutions that you could probably plug into your business today that could move the ball forward. So getting right into it, let's talk AI and promptings. How people are using AI right now to hack your interview and your hiring process is very simple. They're currently writing an AI prompt that essentially says, restructure this resume to make it past any AI screening mechanism to get me an interview with this company. And then they're copying their resume, putting it into the prompt, and then they're inputting your job description. Hit enter, and voila, it is fine-tuning their resume to get past your screening mechanisms. Now, helpful for them because they might get an interview. And if some people who have figured this out are getting more interviews, great. I commend you for having that creativity to get past the filtration systems. Where we're seeing problems right now is that actually bad actors are making it through with this technique as well. I'm going to experience share here. We had a research that we were working on recently where we had gotten 4 or 5 people in a row that were not who they claimed to be. So they claimed to be somebody with a very American name in a random town here in the US. And when the person showed up, they were clearly not from the US. You could tell that they had a really bad internet connection, and you could hear noise in the background of other people interviewing. So it was essentially a call center of people who were trying to get hired for jobs who weren't who they claimed to be. Now, I don't know about you, but this turned out to be a very big waste of time. We had to work backwards to hack through like their LinkedIn profiles to figure out what were the differentiators in these people to help us to eliminate them. But it was a lot of work to reverse engineer this. We were looking at the resume, then looking at the LinkedIn profile, and then you could see patterns that were emerging. Sometimes the resumes and the LinkedIn profile were completely off, dates were off. there was a commonality where the person had very few LinkedIn connections, and it wasn't conducive to us spending our time on people that really would be a much better fit for the company. Now, the reverse happened too, where we had a candidate who we thought was potentially a fake candidate who wasn't. As a result, it's tricky. That is one of the things that we're seeing right now. From a candidate perspective, again, I want to help candidates to get more interviews. And this is really not serving candidates well by doing this prompt engineering and then sending the resumes over. Because what it's doing is it's actually cultivating more spray and pray techniques. So it allows me to cover more ground. It's not a badge of honor to say I applied to 1,500 jobs. It's a lot of work. All you need to do is identify 5, maybe 10 companies that you're really passionate about and you really want to work at, and put in the work to get interviews at those companies. Sending out more resumes to more companies, not going to help you get more interviews. People are getting actually fewer interviews, but the interviews that are gotten are completely transactionally driven. And in most cases, you don't end up getting hired. Again, you're spending more time, maybe you're getting practice interviewing. That's a good thing. However, what's not a good thing is you're not getting hired. Most interviewers are pretty intuitive enough to be able to sniff out things like desperation, whether or not you're there primarily just because you're transactionally driven. And they're looking for people who are passionate about the company, about the mission, about what it is the business is doing, because those are the people who are going to make a difference within the organization. Now, to combat that, what's ending up happening is that companies are just adding more hurdles. So it's going to get harder and harder to get interviews. And the reason being is because more and more people are hacking ChatGPT to falsify their resumes to make it pass a screen. And then, of course, now we've got to look for ways in which we can, filter it down. It's just not manageable as a recruiter or hiring manager to get 100 plus people who apply for a job and interview all of them. You want to filter it down to maybe the top 5. It's good that you're standing out. However, there's other ways, there's better ways to do that. Are you listening to the Higher Power Radio Show? I'm your host, Rick Gerard. And for our podcast listeners, we're going to take a quick educational moment from our sponsors.
Are you tired of talent and HR podcasts that sound like corporate training videos? Same. Talentless is the no-fluff show about hiring, leadership, culture, and what's actually going on in the world of work. Talentless is a podcast for recruiters by recruiters. Hosted by Desiree Goldie and Ashley King, they're smart, occasionally salty, and never afraid to say what everyone else is thinking. Listen wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe at talentlesspodcast.com.
All right, we're back. I'm Rick Gerard. I am the host of Higher Power Radio, and we're talking about AI. So we just talked a little bit about one of the problems that we're seeing is people using ChatGPT to really hone in their resume or tweak their resume in maybe not necessarily the most honest way to get interviews, which has good and bad effects, but mostly bad effects because of the fact that, quite frankly, again, most people are getting interviews because they need a job, not because they're focused in on actually their career and enhancing their career. So this brings us to the second piece of this, which is I'm going to focus on candidates for a minute. So let's focus on shifting away from the mindset that it is a good thing to send out 100, 500, 1,000 resumes or apply to all these different companies, because it's not. Let's get away from spray and pray, because all it does is just clutter everything up. And it just creates a situation where you as a candidate are going to become more and more frustrated because I've sent out 100 resumes. I've only gotten one interview is not a good approach to your job search. Now, your focus should be not on getting a job, but on staying on or finding your career path. Meaning you need to put first and foremost your career path. Where is it that I'm looking to go? And if you don't know, let's figure it out. If you're in the wrong spot, figure it out. Figure out where you really want to be. You need to identify 5, maybe 10 companies that really spark your passion and pursue those diligently. Now, I'm seeing on our end a lot more people getting hired via referrals than applications. So referrals are your best source of getting hired into a company. Now, how do we get referred into a company? Simple. Cultivate relationships with people who work there, or cultivate relationships with people who know people who work there, who can vouch for you. Referral is far more powerful than an application. It just is. Most companies hire people they know, like, and trust. It's just like sales. Most people work with people they know, like, and trust. And if they don't know you and they don't know if they like you or trust you, then your opportunity to work at that company is hugely diminished. How do I cultivate relationships with people who work at a company? It's simple. We have LinkedIn. We have social media platforms where you can connect with these people, find a commonality, and look for an opportunity to develop a relationship with them. So if your dream is to work at, I don't know, Disney or some other company like that, find people who work there who have common passions, get involved in maybe some of the groups that they're in. And it's going to take a little bit longer of a process, but it pays off in dividends. If people see you, they know you, they like you, they're going to refer you in. Boom. It's the most powerful way to get your foot in the door. And that is the way in which you can enhance your career. All right, now I want to shift to companies because this is really the part that I think that we can really provide a lot of impact to most of the businesses that work with us and who have used our software. The application process. Most companies treat referrals different from applicants. It's just the way that it happens. Even the interview processes are different. But in order to create a more humanistic approach to hiring, both types of candidates need to be treated exactly the same. Now, we're getting fooled by AI, by resumes that are not necessarily truthful, right? So we need to approach this from a more humanistic perspective with a positive outcome to change this behavior. Think about job descriptions that you're putting out to the world as being available for people to essentially get a reward from it. The mindset is, I just send out my application and hope to hear back. Now you have a lot of people auto-replying to jobs. If I post something on LinkedIn, I'm going to get, within the first 10 minutes, probably 100 applicants. Not one of those, well, maybe 2 or 3 of those people actually read the job description, right? Because they've been conditioned that the job description is all the same thing. So how do we do this? Let's create a reward mechanism to allow candidates to stand out, to demonstrate their passion and receive an actual interview. And the way to do this is simply by creating a more marketing-centric job description. And at the end of the job description, having a call to action. Now, I'm going to share with you guys kind of what our call to action is. But at the very end of the job description, it's fairly simple. It simply says, please do not reply to this ad. If you've read this far, you have grit and we should meet. Please respond to, and I have my company email address, with your attached resume and let us know the answers to these 3 important questions. Now, this is something I got years ago from my friend Peter Lefkowitz. It allows somebody to lean into your organization and share something that's not a cover letter, that's not a resume, but allows them to share why they're responding and why they feel they would be a good fit for your company. So the 3 questions I have for ours is, what motivated you to respond to this role? What do you feel you're capable of achieving? And then the third one is, what's the best way to reach you for a conversation this week? And then in big, bold letters on the very bottom, I actually say on the bottom that we only respond to people who invest the time in providing well thought out, non-AI written responses. This has made a huge difference in the amount of people that we see or get through the funnel. You'd be amazed at when we had 243 applicants through a LinkedIn post, we had 4 that responded in the correct way. Out of those 4 people, 3 of them got into the interview process and 1 of them got hired. They stood out as a really, really strong performer. The amount of time that was saved in the interview process by the team, by the people that we need working and building the product was tremendous. And so far, that person has worked out to be a rock star. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to walk anybody through this. And with that, this is going to be a short one. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Hire Power Radio. A quick thanks to our team, Brian Colburn, Andrea Ballin, and Ayla Girard. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, review, and share. We're listening and we welcome your feedback. After all, this show is for you. You can check us out further at Hire, H-I-R-E, Power, P-O-W-E-R, Radio, R-A-D-I-O.com, or Intertrue, I-N-T-E-R-T-R-U.ai, or you can drop me an email at rick@intertrue.ai. I'm your host, Rick Gerard, and you have been listening to the Hire Power Radio Show. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Hire Power Radio. Catch our LinkedIn Live show every Tuesday at noon, or download the podcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform. We appreciate you joining us on Hire Power Radio with your guide to hiring success, Rick Gerard.